Hey everybody, video here for you. Thought I'd do a request video. I'm drinking my coffee this morning. I'll get this edited and uploaded a little later today. I'm going to go for a long walk. I'm sick of being cooped up. We are going down to Red Wing, Minnesota today. Reading my messages, this one caught my eye just because I've looked into this in the relative recent past. Here is Red Wing, Minnesota. Pucketville, is that what that says? Is that named after my favorite baseball player of all time, Kirby Puckett? I doubt it. But here, this is called Barn Bluff right here. Mississippi was a massive flow of water a long time ago at the end of the Younger Dryas. Got a bluff there, and then way in the distance, there's another bluff. Mississippi combined with the Minnesota upstream near Minneapolis and created this massive torrent of water coming down here about 12,000 years ago. Here's the Mississippi. This is called Barn Bluff. That's been a prominent feature for cultures all the way through present times. Then on the west side over here, we have some bluffs, and that's where some stone cairns were found. That's where people were buried on the west side of the, I almost said Nile, Mississippi. Same purpose though, west side, sunset on the west side. So that's where the people were buried. Considered the land of the dead here in Red Wing, just like in Egypt, the west side of the Nile, west side of Mississippi. That's where these mortuary things were built. Here is one of the few remaining pics of these cairns, and they were leveled, destroyed. There's a few traces of them left up in the bluffs up here above Red Wing. I don't know if any of you are familiar with these bluffs. I know I have some viewers in the area, some right across the Wisconsin border. But that is a look. The dating of this could go back, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 years. People don't know who built these. The Native Americans say these were already here when they got here. Here's the website, Rock Piles, and it actually goes over the Red Wing cairns here. Not many websites do, but this guy who runs a website was asked, like I was, if he had ever heard about these. But he has some pics here. If you're still interested, here are some recent photos of one of the rock cairn sites in Red Wing. The DNR has recently cleared away brush, shrub trees, and buckthorn from the bluff, making it possible to get some clear pics. I also included a couple aerial photos of the cairn site nearby. There's not much to see, but the tree in the foreground is in a hole that used to be the center of the cairn. There are many rocks strewn about it, and here is the look. Here's the cairn. This thing might have been, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 years old. We don't know. Important people might have been buried in it, but it's been dismantled here and sits in ruins above Red Wing, Minnesota. Here's another cairn site, and there are just maybe a few stones down here. But he says also this tree was in the middle of the cairn here, and it's on top of a large mound here. Find that interesting. Not sure exactly where this is, but right above Red Wing here. Those of you who have followed me for a long time know I like investigating some of the greatest mysteries of all time, and I also like presenting these little lost pieces of history come from the ancient United States. One article here, it says, the stone cairns of Red Wing, Minnesota have been cloaked in mysteries for centuries. Small in number, densely concentrated, and originally built upon high, untimbered hilltops, the identity of the builders remains unknown to both researchers and native people alike. Local Dakota people do not claim authorship, refer to these monuments as hekti, a lodge of time and space, and recognize them as places where holy works were done. Unfortunately, all the stone cairns have been dismantled since Euro-Americans first encountered them, and the significance of their hollow architecture was never culturally examined. These unique stone features are presumed to be mortuary features and therefore protected by Minnesota Statute 307.08, and they are protected from further destruction. So these stone rock cairns that are laying in just ruins are protected from being further destructed. Isn't that great? But here's a look from a long time ago above Red Wing, Minnesota. There are traces of some of these still up there. These were large stone mounds, but what remains up there today, I guess, is evidence of the dismantled cairns. just these little rock piles. Now, maybe a year or two ago, I was reading a few articles, and I'm trying to find those, but interesting legend about the face here of Barn Bluff, right here on the south side. Was there an ancient face carved up here in ancient times? There's a few hints of that. Here is a look from Barn Bluff about a little over 100 years ago. But there are a few hints that there was a stone face carved up here in ancient times, and it greeted the travelers coming up from the Mississippi. Now here's a pic coming from about 70 years ago, and they are claiming that this is the area where the large face was, eye, nose, mouth, right here. But it was eroding away, and this is what remained 70 years ago. Here's an article from about a year ago. It says He Mini Khan, and that is the local sacred name, I guess, for the bluff, for Barn Bluff, lost its distinctive face during construction of the Eisenhower Bridge in the late 1950s. So that is the local sacred name for Barn Bluff, and here's a look at a face that was sacred to the people living around here, and that goes back centuries probably. Here's a look at Barn Bluff well over a century ago. There are also reports of mounds up here. Stone cairns, lost to history. Just a few traces of them remaining today. An ancient rock face. I want to thank the viewer who sent me this request. Some of this I had looked into recently, and the rock face, I remember my ancient history news video, not the one I did last night, but the previous one talked about the rock face that might have been discovered in British Columbia, and there's an ancient rock face in Ollantaytambo in Peru, and I think Brian Forster's covered that, and I made a video about that a long time ago. But here, Red Wing, Minnesota, ancient rock face. That is a video from my home state of Minnesota, Red Wing, Minnesota. I've golfed in Red Wing, Minnesota. Mississippi National, maybe right there. I think that's where it is. Home of Red Wing shoes. Some of you may have heard of that. Thanks again to the viewer who suggested that. I believe he lives right across the river in Wisconsin. But that is a video I enjoyed making. Hope you thought that was cool, and you all have a very nice day.